Hi, Zach. Welcome to the Your Dose podcast.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Whereabouts in the world are you based right now?
I'm in Cardiff right now, in Wales, for if anyone doesn't know Cardiff, but yeah.
Yeah, honestly, we actually spoke briefly before this, and I can't seem to get my head around the Cardiff accent because it's non-existent.
Yeah, it's a real shame. It's my Welsh pride is damaged as a result of it. I feel like I am owed a Welsh accent, but yeah, as I showed you, I can very easily go back into it, just like that. But yeah, one day I'm sure it'll return fully, but for now, we're stuck
So,
in a
what's the
posh.
reason behind the non-existent Welsh accent?
I went to uni in Exeter, surrounded myself with the richest and the poshest for 4 years. And I guess I just acclimatized, and then my accent never changed back. My mum absolutely hates it.
Yeah,
Um, she wishes I had a, because my mum's very Welshy. My dad
yeah,
and my sisters are as well. Like my sisters are very Cardiff, which I guess doesn't mean anything to people who don't know Cardiff. But Cardiff's it's kind of like the Scouse accent. It's like I'm from Cardiff.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So they're
but
proud Welsh, and you're coming back with a very posh Southern accent.
yeah, it's heartbreaking. But here we are.
Yeah. And did you enjoy Exeter?
Loved Exeter. Yeah, it was very fun uni. I studied sociology down there, and then I went to Edinburgh for my masters. I did international development and Swahili. But which I think I loved Edinburgh more, but Exeter was more fun. Just for like, I think I just knew more people there.
Yeah, yeah. I guess Edinburgh as well would have been the final post on this accent that you've.
Yeah, honestly, I went to Edinburgh so unaware that it was full of Surrey, like just Surrey boys and Surrey girls. I thought I was
Yeah.
going to escape it all, and then
Yeah.
found out it was just as bad as Exeter.
Yeah, yeah. No, I know a lot of posh Southern people who are in Edinburgh, but it is literally a beautiful place. So,
Mm.
are you using your degree, masters?
Not. I haven't used my masters
Neither.
yet. I
Oh, you have.
intend on.
Oh, you so you're
Um,
still in doing your masters.
no. I finished my masters a few years ago, and then just got a job in recruitment, and just never left, which is not what I intended on, and very much trying to get out of that now, and use my masters. Or I kind of like it was very much a panic masters. It was COVID. I didn't want to move home, so I was like, what do I do? So I just did a panic masters in Edinburgh, and it wasn't necessarily something I wanted to do. So if I could go back, I would have done psychology, but we move. Here we are. And yeah, and I got
Well,
Swahili. I wish I could use Swahili. It's a really random little fun fact I have about myself, but
yeah, it's interesting because I did psychology, which I'm passionate about. Did a master's in
mm.
psychology, and then I went into recruitment.
Oh
A
really?
very short period of time, but yeah,
Right.
I did as well, and it was like random. That was a waste of 4 years. No, it wasn't. It was actually an amazing 4 years, but I think I'd be intrigued to know how many people actually use their
Yeah.
degree.
Yeah, it's definitely a problem, but I think that just comes down to the fact that unis don't prepare you for real life at all. So
No,
we don't. I don't. Yeah, like I kind of left uni. I was like, oh, I'm alone now. What do I do? And
and
literally no
also
one to tell me.
recruitment's really good pay, like
Yeah, that
from
was like the
from
thing.
the offset. So
Um, oh, it's a trap though. Gosh.
it it is a trap, but
Yeah,
it's fun, and you meet lots of people.
it's fun. Yeah, I'm good at it, so I guess that's the main thing.
I can imagine you being quite good at
Yeah.
it. So what else? So tell us a little bit more about you. How old are you, Zach? I'm trying to figure it
I'm
out.
26.
26.
So yeah, 27 in July. Born and raised in Cardiff, and yeah, and I guess I run a little. I sat outside. I guess but aside from recruitment, I run a little mental health page on the side, which I'd love to make my full time at some point. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's probably the most interesting thing about me now.
So the mental health page, which is how I found you. How did that all start? Because not to stereotype, but you're a male. I don't know when you started the page, but it's very rare for men to talk about their feelings online?
Yeah, I think honestly, I hadn't really seen any pages like it when I was doing it. Obviously, I'm now aware that there's so many pages just like mine. But when I did it, it was kind of just I'd already spoken quite openly about mental health before I made the page, and I think I've just been very. I don't know why. I've always just been very candid and vulnerable with myself.
Yeah.
It feels quite like natural, I guess. Oh, it sounds like trying not to sound like a so pretentious, but yeah, yeah, and then I just thought I was like, what would I was like I was basically in this place of like I wish that there was something like that for me when I was going through it when I was younger. When I was
Yeah.
going through OCD, if I just wanted to make a platform that I would have appreciated, and that's what it started as. And I was also bored. It was COVID. I didn't really know what else to do with myself. Yeah, and I also figured that it was a good way to tackle OCD. Just on the basis that I guess the biggest barrier to mental health is shame. And if all of my business was suddenly online, there was nothing to be ashamed about anymore. That was kind of my logic.
Yeah,
So yeah.
it's interesting how different people's brains work and their perspective on sharing things online. Are
Mm.
you a Cancer by any chance? Star sign?
I am a Cancer, yeah.
Because I'm a Cancer as well, and I've like, I don't know if it's a thing or not, but Cancers are very just open, very sensitive, deep,
Yeah.
intuitive people. And for me, it does just come so naturally. And I 100% have friends who I know look at my page, like some of my best friends, and they're like, "What is she doing? Like, why is she
Yeah.
doing that?" And
Yeah.
you know, why is she so open? Why is she so vulnerable online? But for me, it is something that I always wanted to share after I'd been through. Obviously, if I'd never experienced mental health issues, I wouldn't be here talking to people
Mm.
about mental health issues. Also, my degree's in psychology, and I'm really passionate about it. But like, I always, after my experience, was like, oh my God, I want to share my experience. I want to help other people. I don't want anyone to go through that again. But some people have the complete opposite experience after a mental health issue where they're like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't know why you want to share it online. So it's really interesting. And like when you were explaining why you do it, for me, it's exactly the same reason.
Yeah. Yeah, I just
Um,
honestly just find it so helpful to me, and it's been a massive
yeah.
reason that I've got to where I am now, and I would say I'm recovered from OCD. So
Yeah, it's interesting because I didn't really understand OCD and know that it was something that I'd actually been struggling with until I
mm,
started this page.
yeah,
Like, and I understood myself so much more. And for the first time in such a long time, I feel actually normal. And
mm,
like, I don't feel weird for feeling the feelings that I have or for some of the thoughts that I have or whatever. I'm like, these are just actually normal. Like, so many
yeah,
people
literally,
experience this.
yeah. It's like it's not like I don't get intrusive thoughts anymore, but I really just don't breed into them
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
way I used to.
Yeah. So let's go back a little bit because obviously you're saying you're fully recovered from OCD now. Well,
Yeah,
almost, which is amazing.
almost.
But where did it all begin? Do you remember some of the first like signs and symptoms?
Yeah, there's like two stages to this, I guess, but like there's the second part would be like the main part. Looking back on it, when I was 13, I got really um, very weird with germs. I think it was like a puberty thing. Like everything I was doing, like if I didn't instantly wash my hands afterwards, and then I put my hand in my mouth, I'd be convinced I was dying. I'd be so anxious, going around the house, wiping every door handle, and then going to my mum's room at night, being like, "Oh, I did this. Am I going to die?" And then her reassuring me. But then I kind of just grew out of it, I guess, and nothing. Like I guess, yeah, my life just kind of went back to being pretty, a
Normal.
typical anxious teen. Nothing like out of the blue. And then it was when I was 19, and I made a video about it recently about like the click, where it literally felt like in a heartbeat my life changed. Where I was working in a store, working in Marks and Spencers, and I suddenly just had this thought that came into my head. I worked in a kids section as well, and suddenly my head was just like, what if the reason you work here is because you're a pedophile? Um, and yeah, and then I just remember, like, have you ever seen the movie Get Out?
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know, basically, for anyone who hasn't seen it, there's a scene in this movie where a character hypnotizes the other character, and she says, like, sink into the floor, and then he, like, sinks into the couch, and then he's, like, falling downwards into, like, this weird
Yeah.
realm.
Yeah.
That is how I describe the first time I experienced OCD, and then that became the next 3 months of my life. I was just completely consumed by this, like, a thought playing over head. I was like, what if you are? I had to, like, I could barely go to work. I was terrified to even look at kids because I was like, what if, what if you're turned on by them? It was debilitating. It was the most traumatizing experience of my life, and I had no idea it was OCD. That it wasn't like a word that had really come across me at that point.
Thank you for sharing that, firstly, Zach, because this is one of the most misunderstood for like themes of OCD.
Yeah,
And thank God it's getting more awareness now. But there are so many people, and I know this from just having this page, who suffer, and you probably know this as well from your page, that suffer with POCD and will
hmm,
never, ever, ever talk about it. People, and I've had people message me and say that they've had family members who have killed themselves because they've had this form of OCD and never
yeah,
been able to talk about it. You've just said that you didn't know it was OCD. So how,
mm,
like, if somebody has never heard anyone else speak about it, how will they will just think that they're a pedophile. They're like,
yeah.
well, that must be why I'm experiencing these thoughts.
Well,
And
yeah, it got to the point with me, and, like, what you said about people like ending their life over this sort of thing, and, like, I fully understand where how you get to that place. Like, in my head, the only rational way out of this was the thought that would play in my head was, like, I would rather die than have these thoughts be true about myself. And I was just terrified that they were actually true. And yeah, and then I had this really it was kind of like a really really weird process of getting to the place where I found out it was OCD. I'm from a very religious background, Christian family. So when this was all happening, my parents kind of just sent me to a Christian counselor. Um, and they told me, I sat them down. I was like, "Oh, this is what's going in my head, but I don't. It's not true. It can't be true. I don't know why this is happening." And
yeah,
they interpreted it as I was struggling to resist the temptation, and then they, like, "Can I pray with you? I might speak in tongues." And they started, like, praying and asking that I would not fall to the temptation of this, which sent me into a very suicidal spiral. And
can
that's when I started self
imagine.
harming, and began, like, genuinely on the verge of, like, ending it all. I then Googled how to get sectioned, um, and this uh, OCD Actions page came up, um, and it was just this forum. The forum doesn't exist anymore, but there was this forum, and it just said, I just saw the words. It was like, "Is this POCD?" And I was like, "What the fuck is that?" And then I clicked it,
Yeah.
and found thousands and thousands of posts of people explaining exactly what I was going through. I remember just breaking down crying and being like, "What is this?" And then just fell into this rabbit hole of this completely new, like, mental health world of, like, people who were
Yeah.
going through something. It was very bizarre. And then I went and told my mum. I was like, "This is what it is." I was like, "This is what I'm going through." And then we got an OCD therapist where I was diagnosed with OCD, and went from there.
A few things to just unpack there. How old were you again when you were working at Marks and Spencers and experiencing this?
I was 19. It was just before. Oh wait, when was it? Yeah, no, I was. Yeah, it was about. I'd say probably about May 2017 is when this began. So yeah, just before my 20th birthday, um, and it went on for about, like, 5 months, I'd say. before I got
Before
seen, and
you
I
then went to you
before
told
I
your mum
got
and
told it
she
was
said,
OCD,
yeah,
it started.
okay.
Yeah, and then
And
I
do
was
you,
pretty much instantly put on medication and therapy, and like pretty much
perfect.
instantly went away.
So you sorry, I've just lost my train of thought. I was about to say something. It was about the sorry. This doesn't happen very often.
That's
Um,
right.
I was thinking of two questions at once. I don't know. It's gonna go now. This is ADHD. Um, anyway, I'll cut this bit out. Oh my gosh, it'll come back to me.
Okay.
Um, so do you remember how you felt when you found this online? Because I remember when wasn't very well with an eating disorder, and the first thing I did when it got really bad was went to Google, and I
Mm,
did this like, why do I feel guilty when I eat or something? And this online quiz came up for eating disorder. And again, like you, I had no idea what an eating disorder was. Well, maybe I kind of knew about it, but I was like 15. This wasn't something that was really spoken about. And then
mm.
did this quiz, and it was like, there's like 90% chance that you have severe anorexia. And yeah, I remember for the first time in my life feeling like seen and heard and being like, oh my God, like this is actually something, like there's a name for this. But then when I went home and told my parents, the reception wasn't maybe quite the same. So obviously you're from a religious background
Mm.
and you've gone with your parents saying that this is, or with your mom, this is what I think I'm suffering with. What was the response?
I think because so prior to this and when I was growing up, my sister also had a very severe eating disorder. So it wasn't mental health wasn't exactly new in our family. So they were pretty receptive to it, which was I'm very lucky for that. But I also think that I said OCD, and then same as me, they were like, "Well, no, you don't have OCD. Like you're not clean, and like you don't have like OCD tendencies."
Yeah.
Um, and I was like, and then they read up on it, and they were like, "Oh, okay, this makes sense." Um, so yeah, I was very lucky with their reception of it. To be honest, like I honestly don't have much to comment on like their input on it. It was they are very very helpful in the whole thing.
And did you ever speak to any friends at the time about this?
I didn't until um, uh, probably like after I'd had like a few sessions of therapy is when I first told my best friend. And same response. He was like, I've truly been so lucky with everyone in my life surrounding this. Like I've never had a bad response to it. People have always been very understanding, and I think I like to back the fact that I back myself for surrounding myself with good people. I'd always say that's my strongest trait. Um, and yeah, like I eventually like told everyone within a few months, and yeah, people were very understanding. Didn't understand it, but
But
yeah,
would
they
try to at least understand it for the sake of you.
yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned that you were self-harming
Mm,
during the time in this. That was in the 5 months that you were experiencing these thoughts?
yeah, yeah. It
And
was oh, go on.
no, I was just wondering, had you ever done it before? Or,
Yeah, when I was I did it just before I came out as gay. I think I was having some internalized um, homophobia, and
yeah.
was very depressed over my sexuality. Again, religious background, so it was a very terrifying and daunting thing to come out. And I wasn't. I kind of hated myself for being gay because I was so convinced that Christianity. I mean, I'd go to hell. So yeah, I'd self harmed over that. So and then I stopped self harming, until that 5 month period when the OCD started. It was always very I guess like light self harm. Like I never really I like in hindsight, like I left like scratches on me. Like it was never severe and never deep. Um, but it was still enough to make me feel like I needed to hurt myself.
Do you think that by doing it, it kind of like, because I've never actually self harmed before. I guess there's lots of other forms of self harm
Mm,
that aren't like a physical
yeah.
performance. If that makes sense. You can self harm in lots of other ways. Um, did you feel like it was just like stopping the thoughts, like almost distracting you, or it was like you actually wanted to hurt yourself because you were so ashamed of the thoughts that you
I
had?
I I don't know, to be honest. It's so far away from me now.
Yeah,
I think I don't know what my intention was with it.
yeah,
I think probably there was some level of just wanting, like, needing attention and like feeling like I needed to be heard by
yeah,
someone, and like having
yeah,
that was
yeah,
my way. Like, I'd always wear like my sleeves loosely, so like, it might fall out so someone else could see it. Um, so yeah, I think it was definitely more of a cry for help.
yeah,
But I think the main way I self harmed was via drugs. Like I was very, very, I abused a lot
yeah.
of drugs when I was younger, especially before any of my friends knew this. And like, I'd just go out with them, and I'd take way too much Mandy and Coke. And it was just, it was the only time I guess I felt normal, um, in quotation marks. So yeah.
Yeah, that was something that I actually was interested to talk to you about. Weirdly,
Mm,
I noticed that you spoke very openly about it, which I think's good in a way because lots of people use drugs,
mm,
and whether that be to self medicate or whether it just to be to go and have a good time with your friends,
yeah.
a music festival every now and again. Um, but yours was more so self destructive at points.
There's definitely points where my use of drugs has been fully recreational and healthy. It's not something I do anymore. But there were intense periods where I was just doing it every week. Like I think the kind of uh like the big point of it all, I had like a 2 week drug binge where I did something every
Wow.
day. It was very intense. And yeah, it was just very, very um that was kind of after that 5 month period. That was a few years later when I was going through like health anxiety and different other forms of OCD. Um, but yeah, it was quite intense. Yeah, my relationship with drugs, and then obviously you get into this like awful spiral where you do lots of drugs, you have come downs, and then to tackle those downs, you just want to keep getting high. Um, so
Were
yeah,
you
it
at
was
uni
not.
at the time?
I was at uni, yeah, which
Yeah.
and that's what makes it so. There are so many people in university who have drug issues, but it's so hard to see because, especially in the UK, um, the drug culture and drinking culture is so promoted.
Normalized.
It's
Yeah.
normal and it's celebrated that we're good drinkers, and we go crazy and we do drugs, and I'd be in this room of like 30 people, and every single person was doing drugs and cat, and so therefore like someone who did have an issue would just blend. You just all like you would never be able to
Of
tell.
course.
Like I'm
Yeah.
sure there were so many people other than me in that room who had like horrendous drug issues.
Yeah. 100%. And I
Mm,
think the issue with uni is it's like you're seen as cool when you're going out and doing drugs. For me,
yeah,
like when I was in like throughout university, it was the thing to do. And the person who was going out and taking loads of drugs and always the one who was like seen as like the worst one out of everybody was like seen as the good time. Like
yeah,
that was like the person who goes out has a good time, or they're so funny. They're always the one that gets getting fucked up.
yeah,
And do you get what I mean? So it's like that, but that person might be the person that's actually struggling the most.
yeah,
And they probably want to keep up that persona as well as the good time, goes out, takes loads of drugs, and yeah, it's definitely difficult to find the balance. I think alcohol's something now that I'm really trying to like move away from. But again,
mm,
it's so normalized, and I would say that I probably would if you looked on a if I did an alcohol test, I probably would have an alcohol addiction. So I
Yeah.
don't
But
drink.
I
I don't.
think that there's
Go on,
that
sorry.
statistic about like I'm not gonna like quote it as like absolute facts. I don't know exactly what it is, but there's this the statistic about like when you scale if you were to like actually measure like UK students, a good portion of them would like qualify as functional alcoholics.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
So would you say that you do have a better relationship with alcohol and drugs now?
Yeah, yeah, I definitely like alcohol and drugs. If I was to do them, it's never coming from a place of like
Escape.
I'm doing this to feel better about myself. It's I
Yeah.
want to have fun tonight. Let's do this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I'd say I have a very healthy relationship. Well, no, I don't know like a healthy relationship. I wish I would love to not drink as much as I do, but it's still I don't think that's like a
It's you're not doing it to escape reality, and
no. I think I'm
that's
just a bit
different.
gluttonous.
That's
Like
that is different. So, so going back a little bit to the, so you said that because you said that you were treated for POCD
hmm,
and you had medication therapy, but then 2 years later, you're now experiencing health anxiety.
yeah.
So
I
what
I had
happened
so
there?
many
Like
things.
what what treatment did you have for the POCD out of interest?
Yeah, so I think I made a horrendous. Well, I mean, I think I did make a horrendous mistake of. I was having therapy for it. I was having CBT therapy. I didn't have ERP therapy. I hadn't really heard of it. And my first OCD therapist was not the greatest OCD therapist, but they were very important still in like the whole thing. But yeah, I was put on sertraline or citalopram. I think citalopram the first time around. And honestly, as soon as I went on citalopram, the thoughts just went. Like literally, I had like a few.
Seriously?
Yeah, like yeah. The doctors always say this is really weird, and I don't because they say that like it takes weeks for it to work. But honestly, I took those medication, and then 2 days later, I was fine. Like all of the thoughts just disappeared from my head, and I
Oh my
was
god.
back to. It was
Back
crazy.
to normal.
Yeah, literally back to normal.
Wow.
I was able to go back to uni, um, and then I came off them. And I stopped. As a result, I stopped therapy. I was like, oh, I don't need therapy anymore. It's fine. And then I came off them, and then it all just like came back. And I was like,
Really?
oh, but it came back. It never came back as POCD. That was the only time I ever experienced that. The main way the main way it appears for me now, still, if it's going to, is through relationships. So like relationship themed OCD. That's like the biggest little. That's like my final boss in the world of OCD, and that's continually affected every single relationship I've had. So yeah, but I've had like schizophrenia themed OCD,
Oh
health
my
anxiety,
gosh. Yeah.
like transgender OCD. That was a crazy one. To be fair, that one's like kind of funny.
Go on.
I'd gone on a night out, and my friend just had a pair of silicone boobs. So I was like, "This is fun. I want to wear them." So I put on a bra and went on a night out with like these like really realistic breasts. Um, and then I woke up the next day quite hungover, and I was looking back at the videos, and I was like, "I'm gonna slay." Um, and yeah, but then my mind was like, wait, does this mean you're transgender? And then I just got like stuck on it. But yeah, I mean, it was a great story to like lead to a theme. But
Yeah, but at the
yeah,
time it's really like so consuming. Like whatever the
yeah,
themes are, it consumes
it's
your
just
life.
everything. It's like your
Everything.
entire life.
And
It's so hard to describe.
it's so hard to describe. And like, so for example, the schizophrenia thing, I didn't
Mm,
realize that was OCD. I had no idea. Other
yeah,
than like for months, I was just convinced that I had schizophrenia. But
mm,
like, and every single like body sensation of like, oh my god, that must be spiders crawling on my skin, or like, and like, or would like be in the shower and like there'd be a
yeah,
sound related to the shower, and I'd be like, I'm hearing voices, and like I would
yeah,
always be so much worse when I was like hungover as well. And then it would be like 3 days of a hangover, and then I'd be like, maybe I've got psychosis. And it's crazy. Like
Yeah, I
these.
used to always like if I saw someone in like the corner of my eye, but like didn't see them properly, I'd look and then I'd be like, wait, you just made that person up.
Yeah.
And then I'd have to like check and I'd follow this person around to make sure that they were real. And like, it was so bizarre. Like,
Have you ever been in a setting with like with a group of people and been thinking about the schizophrenia thing, and then questioning whether you're actually talking to these people or whether they're all made up people?
yeah, I had this horrible thing happen actually in first year of uni, kind of along that line. And it was along with like the schizophrenia theme, but suddenly I was unable to look at people's faces without completely like taking like I don't know how to describe it. Like suddenly faces just didn't make much sense in my head. Like my brain would just like pick them apart as like that's literally a pair of eyes, a nose, and a mouth, and like just I don't know. It was really I can't describe it,
No,
but
I
like
completely understand, but that I
yeah, it
think that
was
kind of links into this because I had very much like well, my big theme has always been health anxiety, and I think
mm,
schizophrenia is kind of a subset. Well, it
yeah,
is a subset of health anxiety, and mine would be very much around feeling like things aren't real. So, like for
mm,
example, a face, I'd be like, "Oh, that's how is this even a real thing?" And
yeah,
then like really like going deep into
kind of like
humans,
existential almost as well.
humans, why we're
Yeah.
here, and all that sort of stuff. Um, so I guess because you mentioned that relationship OCD was one of your biggest themes
Mm.
and has affected your relationships, do you have any examples of how it might have affected some of your relationships?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't until recently that I was broken up with for the first time. And that is as a result of me recovering from OCD. And yeah, it kind of, so it all started before I was like, before even the POCD theme, actually. This happened to me, but I didn't clock that it was OCD until years later. So yeah, I was dating this guy, about probably about 4 months before the POCD thing happened. And I just remember my brain just being like, what if you don't actually like this guy? And then I was obsessed. I was obsessed over the idea. I was like, how can you know if you like them? And I'd do all these romantic gestures. I'd be like, no, 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 okay, I'll take them for a really romantic picnic. That'll show that I like them. And it's like, I'm like romanticizing them in my head so much. And in the end, I literally couldn't hack it. I became so depressed and I broke it off with them. But I was like, oh, that was weird. But I'd had relationships before that. So I'd never like yeah, I just thought it was like a one-off thing. Anyway, I went to uni and it just kept happening. Like every time I'd start dating someone, it was just this. How do you know you like this person? Like you think this person's disgusting. You think this person's so ugly. You're not attracted to this person. They're fucking foul. Like all of that just playing over and over and over in my head. And then when I found out I was OCD, I was able to communicate it to everyone I was dating. Like I'd be like, look, this is a little quirk I have.
I'm
I,
going to think you're ugly in probably about 3 weeks, but
yeah,
please.
literally, I literally had this conversation. With this, I've been going on dates with this guy recently, and I was having this conversation the other day, being like, "This is my brain. Just beware." Um,
And how did he take
and
it?
yeah, no, he was. I'm sure he'll listen to this. But
I hope so.
no, he was very good with it. I mean, it's a weird thing to understand. I think if you have no concept of OCD really before it, it's like suddenly someone being like, yeah, my brain's gonna like repeatedly say I fucking hate you and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the most like mean things about you and be gonna be so critical of you and I don't like there's a level of which I'm like, how much do you tell your partner that? Like, I think obviously it's important that they know, but like I don't want to be like, oh, my brain just said you're ugly, like
Yeah,
to
yeah,
them.
you
Like
can't say.
it's no, it's just like it's not necessary. I don't think. But yeah, I think yeah, generally I've had very good reactions to it. But it wasn't it really debilitates me. Well, I used to, not so much anymore. But I always end up on medication when I'm dating. That's the only. I'm not on meds right now, but anytime I get into a relationship or start dating, like I normally just end up having to need medication, which is fine, and I'm fully happy with that. It helps, and I feel great for it. But yeah, it wasn't until 2 years ago. I'd always been the one to break it off, and I could never explain it to people. I was like, I can't tell you why I have to break it off. I just know that my mental health will magically just get better if we're not together,
So
and it
true.
always does.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was about 2 years ago. I'd been dating this guy for about 6 months, and he broke up with me. And I was like, whoa, okay, that's new. And obviously it was sad because I liked him. But it was also like, oh wow, this is the first time I've been broken up with. What a little milestone for me to show that I'm able to stick through a relationship. And yes, it was a very tough relationship for me. But I'm very proud of myself for really pushing
Yeah.
through with the OCD to the point that the relationship just fizzled out.
Yeah,
Like
and
it
it
wasn't.
wasn't you breaking it off because you were going to end up in a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
You traded it
And
off.
then further to that, last year um, was the first time I'd been having these thoughts with this other guy I was dating, and then about 4 months in, I just stopped feeling anxious. I think my brain kind of clicked. I was like, no, no, you actually do like this guy. And then I was like, and then he broke up with me.
Yeah.
But
I know.
it is what it is. But yeah. So yeah, it's always a weird one. So I'm now very specific with dating. I need to make sure you are worth my time, and you're someone that I am willing to go through this turmoil for. Because
Yeah.
it's not like I obviously I want to date. And I know that this anxiety will come with it. So I'm just making sure that if I'm going to put myself through that, it's for someone that
It's
uh,
worth it.
is worth it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel I've very much had the same thing throughout my life, and I've not dated for such a while now. Like dated,
Mm.
yes, but not been in a relationship for such a long time because I just know that as soon as I get into one, it will be very difficult for me. I obsess over everything, and I've
Is it the
done that
same
in
kind of thing, or like?
yeah, it would be very similar. It would be questioning, do I really like them? Is this the
Mm,
one? What about if they're not the one and there's someone else that's potentially better suited? Am I wasting my time? But then, I really do want to be with this person. And the fact is that when it first happened, I just assumed that that was normal and that maybe
yeah.
they weren't the one for me. But then as it's gone on in time, I've realized that it's actually nothing. Well, it probably is partially to do with them as well. Like maybe we weren't right for
Mm,
each other. But I've definitely pushed people away having these thoughts.
yeah. Yeah, for
And
sure. I've pushed so many people away. I also found it absolutely really affected my sex life.
massively for
And
me as well.
yeah, suddenly I used to get so anxious over um is this like a am I is this like a PC podcast out now?
No, it's
Uh,
not PG at all.
okay, all right, fine. Yeah, I used to. Well, I mean, I get really anxious. I was like, what if I can't get an erection tonight? Because I don't like them, or what if I can't? What if I never have sex with this person again? What if and then the entire time, it just makes and then you're there with them, and you're trying to be passionate, but your brain's like, what are
But
you
then
feeling
you're
right now?
yeah,
Do you
it's
feel
so
spark?
yeah,
Do you feel emotion in this moment?
yeah.
And it kind of makes you just feel so numb to it. It's a horrible feeling, and I think that's always been the worst part of it for me. Um,
And it's also hard, and it's also shit for the other person as well
yeah,
because they're
absolutely.
experiencing this, and then yeah, I mean, I've gone to have sex before and been overthinking it so much that I've not enjoyed the sex, and they know that as well, but they're not stupid. It's
Mm,
maybe 2 weeks prior to that you were into it, and then all of a sudden you're not, and it's how do you even explain to the person that you're
yeah,
dating that you're thinking, am I attracted to this person? Do I want to have sex? And you're not going to turn around and tell them those things. So
no,
they
it's
just think that
it's
you're
such a
in.
difficult one.
Yeah. Have you found this affected your friendships?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think it's ever affected friendships for me. or like, familial relationships either. It's always just been like romantic attraction.
Romantic. And just I mean, we don't have to do, I mean, you've openly spoke about it, but whether or not you want to speak about it anymore, just say if you don't want to. But in terms of coming out as gay, like, when did
Mm.
that happen for you?
I was 18 when I came out. I had a very weird coming out. I didn't know I was gay until I was gay, which kind of it doesn't make much sense. But I'll
So had
explain.
you dated girls before that then?
Yeah, I had a girlfriend for 2 years.
Oh wow.
And like, yeah, I mean, it wasn't like, it was probably like the most frigid relationship ever. Like, I think we kissed like twice. Like, it wasn't like, it was by no means like a relationship.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it was about a week before my 18th birthday. My cousin was over from the Netherlands. And he came out to me. He was like, oh, I think I like. He was like, oh, I'm going on a date with a guy next week, and I was like, wait, are you gay? And he was like, I don't know. And then literally that was it, and I was like, oh, I think I am. And then that was it. Like, and then obviously in hindsight, like I look back and like clearly I was.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I came out pretty instantly to all my friends. Oh yeah, I was out to all my friends and to my sisters within like 3 months of being 18. But then my parents, I waited a little bit longer because I knew it was going to be a tough conversation. And yeah, so I came out to them like about a year later.
And it's been, and they yeah, everyone was receptive to it.
Initially, my parents' reaction wasn't good. I mean, it's the context of I grew up in a very, very conservative church, like more conservative than like your average church.
Yeah.
So like borderline cult. They so they they'd never met a gay person in their entire life, and like they'd always just been told that gay people were like the devil, basically. So I told my mum, and she told me she was devastated. And I
Yeah.
told my dad, and he said that he didn't want me to catch HIV. So naturally horrendous, did terrible things for my self-esteem and for my confidence. However, they came around to it quite. I literally told them, and then I moved to Nigeria for like 4 months. Like it was all like I
Okay,
planned it out.
fine.
I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I was like, I'm gay. See ya.
Yeah.
And then they came back, and then they were like, they'd had time to process it, and then they were like, right, we want to come to Pride with you. Let's show us this world. And I was like,
That's
okay.
amazing,
And
isn't
now
it?
like, yeah, and now like, it's been 8 years. So, um, and they, like they've met many of my boyfriends. They have no problem. Like I talk quite openly about like sex with my mum, and like, yeah, like it's not a thing anymore. Like, there's always a thing that like at the back of my head, I'm like, they secretly like will always think that I'm going to hell. But we've processed that. That's like a little
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But that's just, I guess that is just it. Like that's their religion. And I've made peace. So yeah, but they're very good, generally very good parents now. So
That's really good. And I think from your experience, obviously from coming out at 18 to now, do you feel like people's views have changed, and do you feel like you feel more accepted now than you did when you were 18?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely. I mean, I don't know if it has changed or I've just grown up. Like, I mean, it definitely has changed. Like, I think even when I was 18, like it was still, it was still quite common to just throw the word gay around and stuff. But yeah, I think obviously culture's massively progressed. I think doesn't mean that things are better. Hate crimes are rising. So it's a very complicated one. I think as a whole, society, especially in the West, is a lot more accepting, but there's still loads of work to be done in like making sure there isn't a gap. Like I still can't give blood in the same way that straight people
Yeah.
can because of like the hangover of the AIDS crisis, which doesn't have any actual impact on blood now.
Yeah.
Well, it does have an impact on blood, but like, testing like, you test all blood anyway. It's a stupid law.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's that.
And do you have any advice for anyone who might be struggling to come out?
Um, oh my gosh. I guess just the main thing is be kind to yourself. You are like, the world is a weird place, and unfortunately, in a lot of circumstances, it's not ready for people to be themselves. But I think just find, even if you just tell one person, just try and find some support, um, and just look out for yourself more. If I could go back and tell me something, I'd just say that this is also silly, and you know, you deserve a lot of love, and I don't know, just know that you deserve love and you deserve to be loved. Like you're not
Mm.
alien as a result of being queer in any way.
Yeah. Oh, that's so lovely. I think that can kind of replicate to anything in life. It's whatever you're experiencing, whether it be struggling to come out as queer, whether it be struggling to speak to a friend about feeling depressed,
Mm.
or having OCD, having POCD, whatever it might be. Like, that doesn't make you that thing, if that makes sense. It just
No,
makes you
yeah,
you.
I
And
think it's yeah, life's so bloody complicated. I just think that the main thing is just always being kind to yourself, and just taking it day by day. I know that's like the cliche thing, but cliches exist for a reason, because it is the best way to live, for sure.
yeah, thank you for that, Zach. I'm sure that if someone's listening will really benefit from that
Mm.
advice. So before we finish, like just going back to the OCD a little bit, you said that you're basically recovered now.
Yeah,
What exactly has led you to that point? Are there anything in Is there anything in particular?
I think I wouldn't even say basically recovered. I'd say I am recovered from it, and I think that is fully down to how I've shifted my perspective around what recovery is. I think when I was younger, my idea of what recovery was that I would just be living my life free of these thoughts and that OCD would never affect me again. And then when I was constantly let down by that not being true, I decided that I guess I was going to make my own idea of what recovery would be. And I am content with knowing that I will have OCD for the rest of my life. I know that it'll probably affect parts of my life. But I have the tools in place now. I have good support network around me, and genuinely feel confident in my ability to overcome an OCD spiral. So even though they will come, and sometimes, I had a rough one at the beginning of this year, but I knew that I would get out of it.
Yeah.
To me, that is what recovery looks like. So,
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. I feel like I'm definitely the same. I,
mm,
I think OCD, when it's if you're not recovered, is debilitating. Like, it affects every
absolutely.
single aspect of your life. Like, there's been times where I've had to book time off work because I cannot physically focus on anything else other than these thoughts that I'm having. I think now I can have the thoughts, I can recognize them, I can maybe spiral and think about them for a little bit, but then I know when it's time to stop and let it go and get on with my
Yeah.
life. And it's interesting because I've never had, well, I've had therapy, didn't really have OCD therapy, didn't have I'm also not on medication. And for me, there's just like, I feel like it's definitely a lifestyle thing for me. Like, if I'm going out drinking loads, not sleeping, not exercising, not eating well, all of these things, that is the recipe for an OCD spiral
Yeah.
attack for me. So I think it's so important to look at like it holistically. So obviously treatment and therapy, medication, 100% are so important for some people. and I think 100% have a place. But there are also so many other factors as well, and it's about looking after yourself from a physical standpoint of
Yeah, absolutely. I think you have to put in the work to recover.
Yeah.
Like you can't. This will not go away on its own. You need to be your own best friend, I guess. Yeah, in this whole thing. Like, if you're not there for yourself, then yeah, you won't. Like, it's just so important. Just put the work in. Do exercise and healthy eating. Shock horror actually helps.
It really
Like,
does help. Yeah.
I find that my mental health massively increases when I've had a good week of exercise and healthy food, and then when I suddenly am like, oh, why am I having such a bad mental health week? And I'm like, maybe because you've had fast food every day, Zach.
Yeah.
And have
And
like stayed
lots
on
of
the sofa.
alcohol. Yeah.
Yeah, and lots of alcohol, and I've just been hungover. Like, obviously, it's not like you need, like, a lot of the time you do need more than that, and you should be like therapy and medication, absolutely. But everyone's recovery looks different, and everyone's like treatment looks different as
Journey
well.
is
Like,
different, yeah.
yeah, everyone's journey is different. There's no right way to go through this, but the important thing is that you're trying. So,
and just a final question about your little page, which I will put a link for in here. Do you have TikTok? Do you use TikTok for your videos?
I don't use TikTok. I need to. I need to get on it. I'm a bit of a anti TikTok boy. I think, yeah, I'm quite. I say I'm like protective about my data, as if I don't give everything to Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, like I have some data worries about TikTok, so I've never got on it. But I know I should, and I want to be able to access more people. But yeah, no, I'm just on Instagram right now. OCD Stigmatized.
Amazing. And have you got any plans at all with the page, or just keep doing what you're doing and
Just keep. I never. Yeah, when I started this page, I didn't really have any intention with it. It's now won some awards and been featured.
really? Wow.
Yeah, won an award in Ireland. It was really random. Didn't expect to. And then I was in the Independent as well. So it's definitely got me some cool little
That's so cool.
opportunities. So I hope maybe like 2024 TED Talk. Who knows? That'd be cool.
Real.
But yeah, I definitely want to like keep growing it and like just reach as many people as possible. But yeah, the intent with it is only to, I guess, help. Like, I don't. If it goes nowhere, if it flops and I only help one person in the end, then fine. Like, I'm helping someone. That's all it's about for me.
Yeah, amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with me today. I love what you're doing on Instagram, and I'm 100% sure that you're helping at least one person, at least. And I'm just really grateful for how honest and vulnerable you've been today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
But thank you, and enjoy your sleep.
I shall. Yes, it's very late.
Thank you, Zach.
That's right. Thank you.